Like It Real. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're two cinephiles who love to talk movies.
We have weekly episodes discussing the newest films, creating lists and drafts, and keeping you updated on the latest movie headlines and awards races.
We're making good on that promise last week as we have our first movie draft of the podcast.
Right. So we're about a month into 2026, but the new year seemed to kick off with everyone obsessing over where they were a decade ago in 2016. We've all seen the throwback photos and we've relitigated fashion trends, but what about the movies that will be turning 10 years old this year?
That's why we'll be drafting our top 2016 films across 6 different categories. But before we get into that, another first for our podcast, we have a guest joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to welcome our very first guest to the show, Nick Beisel. Nick, welcome to the podcast. How are we doing today?
I'm doing fine. This is a great, well-oiled machine you've got here. Very clean. I like what you're doing. I feel like I'm part of something that knows what they're doing.
Well, we're pretending very well then. Great.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, happy to be here.
Cool. We're so excited to have you, Nick. Can't wait to begin drafting. But before doing that, let's play some catch up. So, Bryan, if you want to start off with anything that you watched this week, just a quick catch up of how your week was.
Sure. Let's see. What have I been watching in the last week? So, recently, the Lord of the Rings extended editions were released in theaters for, I guess, the 25th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring. I have been going to the theater every year to watch these extended editions, and this was no different. Although I didn't get to watch Return of the King on the big screen this year because, in case anyone doesn't know, we had a major, major snowstorm here on the East Coast, and it made its way across many parts of the country, which I didn't expect. But to be honest, I don't keep up to date with what's happening weather-wise in other parts of the country. I try to focus on this location and this location only.
Selfish.
But that's me. But those extended editions are like my way of watching these movies now. They've been my way of watching these movies for years. I caught up with Osgood Perkins' Keeper, which was so terrible. Oh my God, it was so bad. And Osgood Perkins, we said this when we were doing our 2026 movie preview when we talked about how he has a movie coming out this year. I like Longlegs. I thought The Monkey was okay. This was a humongous step down from those two movies. I thought this was really, really terrible. And, you know, Neon, in a year where they had a lot of really strong films, they've also had some misses. And this was definitely one of them. I watched Far From Heaven for the first time, directed by Todd Haynes, starring Queen herself, Julianne Moore. This is one of those rare instances where I gave a 5-star to a first-time watch that wasn't a straight-up new release. If anyone listening to this hasn't watched Far From Heaven, you need to go and watch it immediately. It might be the best Todd Haynes film, but then again, Carol is up there, May December is up there. He's made a lot of wonderful films, but this was truly exceptional. And I also caught up with Sent Help, which is a new release that came out this weekend, and I thought it was great. I had such a fun time with it. Sam Raimi is back. Rachel McAdams has never been crazier, and Dylan O'Brien continues to prove why he is one of the most exciting actors that we have working today. We may talk about it in a few weeks when we play catch up with some of the movies that have come out over the next few weeks. But I highly recommend Send Help if you're a fan of Sam Raimi and the two actors I just mentioned. And if you're a fan of having a really fun time with the movies, you definitely should go check this out.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to I'll probably try to see that next couple days. Definitely looking forward to it. For me, let's see. I caught up with Arco, one of the Oscar-nominated animated films that Bryan was able to have a fantastic interview with the director of. Congrats on that. That was awesome. And then, let's see. Oh, I was, during this, snowstorm on the East Coast, I was in Florida for the weekend, praying that I was going to actually get back, which delayed flight, but we made it eventually.
I was worried I was going to have to find a new co-host. I was getting scared
I was
for
gonna be stranded. Gonna have to ship my mic down there. So yeah, on the plane, I caught up with Eleanor the Great from this past year, which was okay. It was fine. June Squibb is a national treasure, and she was wonderful. But movie overall, I didn't really think worked that well. And then as I was, flying through I mean, the snowstorm was done, but a bit flying through a storm. I was watching The Devil Wears Prada. It's just like a comfort watch, and in prep for the sequel this year. So it was hilarious watching Miranda say like, "Oh, it's just drizzling," while flying through a storm. That was very meta. Yeah, and then I watched Surat because I had an interview with the sound designer of that film,
Which you killed, by the way.
Thank you.
Major shout out. Let's go.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
I saw the
much.
clip. That was great.
Thanks. Yeah, it was so fun. That's my first interview officially. So yeah, that was really exciting. Hopefully there are many more to come. Yeah, I love talking to Laya there. And then I've been watching and rewatching some 2016 films, but I don't want to give away any thoughts on that just yet. So I'll leave it there.
Nice. What about you, Nick? Have you been watching anything in the past week that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, honestly, the year as a whole so far has been pretty slow going for me. I've been doing other things, but one thing that I did see last week I was very excited to be able to see in theaters was The Testament of Anne Lee, directed by Mona Fastvold. And they were doing like a special 35 millimeter screening at the theater by me. I guess it's part of like some series that they're starting to do where they're gonna just sporadically throughout the year show 35 millimeter films. They announced that they have Goodfellas coming soon.
Nice.
Shoot, The Thing, that was another one they mentioned.
Oh, cool.
So that's exciting. I mean, it seems like film's not dead yet. But I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think you've seen it, Brian, but
I have.
Man, I really liked this film.
Veronica's a big Anne Lee fan as well.
I loved it. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I like from the music from the trailer. I was like, I'm gonna love this. And when they start out with the la 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 la, I was like, oh my god, you're gripping me. I'm in for
Going
this. So
off,
I
yeah.
I need to see it again. I haven't seen it since I saw it at TIFF in September, so I need to give it another watch. And when I watched it, we were supposed to watch it on the 70 millimeter print, and the print crapped out 20 minutes in, and it ticked me off throughout the rest of the movie. So I feel like I need to give it another shot. Plus, also, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning when we were watching it, and we waited in line for 2 hours because they put it in the small theater, and we had to get there super early. So I need to give it another watch. I might go see it again within the next week because it finally came to my area. Yeah, the la 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 la, the boat scene with the hands and everything, just incredible. And then minor spoiler, not more so with a scene, just with a song. What did you think of the finger song? The song with the
Fingers?
finger when they're running through the fields.
Oh my god, I love that song. Watching it the first time, I was pretty encapsulated by it. Like it, and then listening back on the way home, I was like, this sounds like a Cure song, like what's his name? Lewis Pullman sounds like Robert Smith singing through the forest. He's on his land. It's just I really liked all the music in it, and I think Amanda Seyfried is unbelievable in it. And
She's amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like totally sold on the Corbet Fastfold. Whatever they make, I will watch. They just announced what his next film is going to be about, or kind of what it's going to be called, and I'm on board with whatever they make. I love that film when I saw it.
I really need to watch it again. She should have been nominated for Best Actress. She really should have been nominated. It's ridiculous that she wasn't.
For sure, I agree. I did check out the Matt Fleck film, The Rip.
Yeah.
Only because it's a Matt Fleck film, and it would have been really good in like the 2000s, maybe late 90s, but it didn't really do a whole lot for me. It just felt kind of paint by numbers, crime, police, dirty cop movie. But I think if it didn't have their presence in it, it would not have done much for me.
Yeah, I agree. I felt the same way. I was very mixed on it too, and it just felt very safe and predictable. And they're great together, and I hope they keep making movies together for forever, but that was definitely not, the best Damon Affleck
I I
reunion.
was yeah, I was just waiting for them to kiss the whole time. It was just
Me
like,
too.
yeah.
As
How
we
about
always
those?
are.
How about those tattoos that Ben Affleck had?
I, I honestly I don't even remember them. It was a pretty forgettable movie. I was just waiting for something to happen.
My favorite thing about that movie, and we'll move on to the next topic, is that when it's so clear that when they were filming this, Matt Damon was growing his Odysseus beard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everyone kept pointing that out. They're like, "Oh, this is just Matt Damon prepping for the Odyssey."
Well, Ben Affleck was the only significant other allowed on set at the Odyssey as Matt's plus one.
My boy. God, I love those
They're
guys.
cute.
But some sporadic things here and there. Those are kind of the main things.
Nice, nice. Well, it's sad that we have to transition into a bit of a sadder piece of news. We lost Catherine O'Hara, 71 years old, passed away just yesterday, time of recording. Still no cause of death revealed. Just says that it was a brief battle with illness. I loved Catherine O'Hara. I always loved her. Grew up loving her. I mean, she had this career that lasted through multiple generations. She was actively working still to this day. I mean, just last year alone, she was killing it. She was on The Last of Us, which I thought she was honestly up there for one of, if
Standout.
not maybe the strongest element of season 2 for me. And then, of course, what she did on The Studio, where she might have stolen the whole show. Like, she was she was a firecracker of a performer. She was a really gifted comic talent, and everything that she's done from the 80s till now, like, she kept working. She was actively working. She was always a highlight of any project that she was involved in. And I'm very sad that now we live in a world without her. She was taken from us way too soon, and it's really, really devastating. When the news broke, I just refused to believe it. And just reading all these tributes and everything, it just, like, all the tributes that have come out about her have literally made me bawl. The From the Schitt's Creek cast, from Michael Keaton, from Macaulay
Macaulay.
Culkin,
Oh my God,
Seth
Macaulay
Rogen.
Culkin's was so much.
Every
just got
single
chills.
every single tribute has literally broken my heart. And we've had so many iconic celebrities that have left us in the last year alone, especially the last few months. But this one, this is a big one. This is a really humongous gut punch. So I mean, I think we all equally loved Catherine O'Hara, but do any of you guys have a particular favorite role or roles from her that you want to highlight? Like, Nick, what about you? When you think of Catherine O'Hara, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
I mean, Home Alone is the first thing that comes to mind. That maternal character, clearly they made a huge mistake, but just like the undying love that a mother can have for a child and what they will sacrifice to protect them. But love her in Beetlejuice. I think she's just so unhinged and she does what she does best, and that's just be like one of the funniest people ever. And she's just incredible. It's really unfortunate, like you said, still doing good work, and I don't know what they're gonna do now with the studio in season 2.
They literally just started filming the season not even 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
I'm very I was reading reports this morning saying that she was supposed to film scenes for the first episode, but then she ended up they ended up changing things around for her schedule and everything. So who knows? It's a really unfortunate situation. What about you, Veronica? When you think of Catherine O'Hara, what do you gravitate towards?
Yeah, and yeah, it's just so especially shocking when someone is still so active and so vital in the industry. But yeah, I think the number one thing that I think of is Sally and Nightmare Before Christmas. That was just such a big movie in my childhood and continues to be, and sort of annual rewatch around Halloween, not around Christmas. We have enough Christmas movies. It's a Halloween movie. But anyway, but I think
Right.
I knew that, like, from as long as I can remember, and then didn't even quite put together that she was, didn't put the face to the name for a while until I was a little bit older. And then and then just the the Christopher Guest movies, the way that she totally sort of re-upped her star power with Schitt's Creek to a whole new generation was really, I mean, that character is just like, I think of I love that show, but I think of the whole show, like, she's probably the greatest part of it. If you had to pick, that character is just so unique and hilarious, and yeah, she really just brought her own to it. And yeah, I was excited for what she was doing on the studio. Her other, she's had a lot of other prominent voice roles. I forgot that she was just in The Wild Robot not long ago.
That's right.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just, she was just so unique. I think that I'm hard pressed to like think of another, even just like a comedic actress. Like, I can't think of anyone else who has her particular like sort of vibe, her sort of sense of humor and everything. She could be so physical but so small too. Like, she was just really a genius, and I'm gonna miss her a lot.
There was nobody like her, truly.
Yeah.
And also, like, I want to give a shout out to her very small role. And Nick, I know that you're a fan of this movie. Her work in After Hours is so good.
Oh yes.
She's so
Yeah.
good in that. I'm just trying to entertain you. I don't want to be entertained.
She's just able to transcend genre. Like, she wasn't one thing or the other. She could be anything. And like you said, with all the recent losses we had, I think it's just going to get worse. I mean, we're more familiar with a lot of people and they're just getting older. And I think, unfortunately, we're at that point where a lot of greats are going to be going.
Yeah, it's like in the last year alone, we lost Lynch, Redford, Keaton, Reiner, and now we just lost Catherine O'Hara. And it's like, why? Why does this keep happening?
The in memoriams at award show
Oh
this
my
year are
God.
gonna go hard.
It's
They're gonna be
literally,
terrible.
you know what's sad? It makes me think of 2016 because like everyone passed away in 2016, and oh,
Oh, why didn't they do an in memoriam for the Golden Globes? That was like the one thing I was looking forward to. Do they usually not? And
I don't think
forgot?
they ever do one.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I think with the TV and film awards, it's a little too long to incorporate. I think they kind of stick to the Emmys and the Oscars.
The Oscar one is going to be rough though this year. It's gonna be really
Yeah.
hard to watch.
Well, they shove in enough commercials. They can fit in a 3-minute in memoriam.
Exactly. But let's not dwell on the sadness. Let's just remember that she has this great legacy that she's leaving behind. And, I don't know how to segue this into our topic, but,
We're all
let's get
getting
into-
older.
we're all getting older, just like these movies that we're talking about today. 10 years old, these movies are. So we're now going to get into our first draft, where, as we said at the top, we'll be covering 2016 movies. So kind of going around the bend and getting your guys' insight on 2016. Where were you in 2016, and what do you think about the year overall in film? Veronica, let's start with you.
Yeah, 2016, I would have been a sophomore and then a junior in college. I was definitely, movies were definitely part of my life, as they always were, but I don't think I was as into like keeping up with everything, all the new releases and stuff like that. So I think I definitely, it's a little more kind of might just have my favorites or things that, struck me at the time, rather than now when I try to kind of seek out, watching as much as I can. So yeah, that was sort of a like a good time for me. I think I was, just sort of coming into my own in college, trying to, figure things out. And I think the movie year overall, looking back at it now, I think it's pretty strong. I think that there's, a lot of maybe some ups and downs, but there are some things that were very popular that I happen to also think were very good, and that's not always the case. Like, sometimes the things that hit biggest are like, come on, really? So, I think that it was a good year for sort of like populist art of good quality.
And what about you, Nick? Where were you in 2016, and how do you feel overall about the year in film?
Well, this is kind of where my discovery of what film could be was kind of at its peak. I moved to Arizona in 2013, and there was a little indie theater we had, and that's when it really started. But this is at the moment where I was like, I can discover so many things. There's so much out there. It's not just what you're getting shoved down your throat all the time. There's just so much. And it was one of my favorite years. And probably still is. When I was going through trying to list everything, I think I even told you, I was like, God, there's just so many choices. Like I can't, it's really hard to decipher, and just a lot of things that personally have made it to my list of like favorite films of all time. So I think it was a really important year, not only for film but for me personally.
Yeah, this was a very interesting year for me, both as a film fan and as a person, because 2016 was when I made the transition from high school into college, and I went to film
God.
school. I know. I graduated high school 10 years ago, and to think that I started college 10 years ago, too, oh my God, it's wild. But yeah, I started college. That was the big thing that happened in 2016, and I went to film school. So that really changed my perspective on film, because when I went to film school, there were so many filmmakers that I had never heard of. And then that was really what jump started, similar to you, Nick, where I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to discover. There's so many films out there, so many genres and filmmakers and all these different things. And it was really a pivotal year for me as a film fan. Now, regarding the year of 2016 film wise, I think it's a pretty good batch of movies. There's a lot of really, really great films that have stuck with me as some of the best films, not only of the decade, but maybe some of the best films I've ever seen, period. And I'm really excited to draft these movies with you guys, because I don't know on the top of my head like which 2016 movies you guys love. So this will be a really fun discussion of, again, everyone's taste of the films that they gravitated towards that year. So I'm really excited to be doing this draft. I think it's a really, really fun first topic for that. So, to kind of break down the rules and everything, we're going to be drafting teams of 6 films, and the categories will be drama, comedy, action, horror, Oscar nom, box office, where a film must have made $100 million domestically at least, and a wild card pick, where you could let loose and pick anything you want. So, do you guys have any particular strategies you're trying to do with this draft? Do you guys think you're going to follow your heart and just go with the picks that mean the most to you? Or are you hungry for the win?
I feel like I can't help but kind of pick a more heart pick, because I'll be like, oh, I can't just leave that, on the table. But hopefully I will be so persuasive in my description of the movie that everyone will think that I have the best lineup automatically. So
I agree. I'm going with the heart. I'm not going for the win. I'm going with what I believe, and I'm standing by that.
yep.
Well, I'm going for the win. I have to. I have to go for. Someone has to go for the win, and if it's not going to be either of you, it will be me. So,
Yeah, well, the winner is the one that goes with their heart. So
That's right. And as I said, I like a lot of the things that were pretty popular this year. So
I agree.
if both happen
I
to be
agree.
true, then, so be it.
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough.
So an important rule of thumb here is that it must have had, at the very least, a limited theatrical release between January 1st and December 31st of 2016. So if a film premiered at a film festival this year but didn't have a release, then it's ineligible for the draft.
Yeah, so right off the bat, there's one film that I wanted to call out that if you go on Letterboxd and you see this film, it says it's a 2016 movie, but it didn't come out until 2017. Personal Shopper is one of them. Raw is another one. I know that Raw is a favorite amongst the cinephiles, and so is Personal Shopper. But those are 2 films that I immediately wanted to call out, because I know that there have been people that have drafted movie years and then something would not be there, and they're like, why isn't this in this year? Because it didn't come out this year. But a
your own
film,
draft,
for
then.
example, is so a film that might be brought up today on the draft, and I'm not going to say if I'm going to bring it up or not. The Witch, which on Letterboxd says 2015 because it made its premiere at festivals in 2015, but it didn't come out
Yeah.
until 2016. So that is eligible for today's draft, in case anyone was
Shit.
wondering. There we go.
Hold on.
Yeah, there are a couple films who premiered at festivals 2015, but then the theatrical release was 2016, so they would be eligible.
I tried to be
Exactly.
cognizant of that, but the witch slipped through the cracks.
I'm
So
thinking of one other too. Yeah.
There will be plenty that come to mind for sure, but
I
let's
just I just
go
gave my
ahead.
hand. Just kidding.
Nice poker face. Unless you're faking us out.
You never know. You gotta be careful with these Eagles fans.
They're sick.
Glad you agree. All right, I have a wheel of our names right here on my phone, and I'm going to spin it. So here we go.
Let's see.
I can't really see who's gonna go first. Let's see.
Where's the arrow?
The first person is Nick, I think. Yes, Nick.
Yep.
Well, I haven't really thought of a first pick, but
Going first is usually very intimidating, so you gotta start us
well,
off with a good
obviously
one. And
there's
then go ahead.
ahead.
No, please.
obviously there's everything to choose from, but I'm trying to look at the categories that are a little less plump and determine where to begin, and I think I have an idea.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it, so let's see who goes next.
Oh my God, it's so close. I think that's you though, Brian.
Oh!
No,
Oh
it just
no.
ticked over into me.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
All right, so I have the middle.
being three isn't so bad. You get two immediate picks eventually.
Yeah, so just to clarify, it'll snake back around. So yeah, Brian will get 2 picks and then back to me and then Nick 2 picks.
This is going to be very interesting. I'm very scared. I'm really scared.
So
All right,
you're
well,
gonna be tracking.
yeah, let's let the draft begin. Nick, whenever you are ready, you can make your first pick.
Well, there's a couple categories in here that are a little suspect for me personally, and I think what I'm gonna begin with is comedy, and I'm gonna pick one of the best comedies of the past 10 years.
I know where you're going. I know where
The
you're
Nice
going.
Guys.
Fuck!
This is when you brought up the draft, this is one of the first movies I thought about because I honestly can't think of a lot of good comedies that came out in 2016, let alone many years. So the idea that it was possible to get this one, I knew I had to draft it ASAP. I mean, it's Shane Black, who also made another one of my favorite comedies, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, along with Ryan Gosling doing his very best. And I think the sheer fact that a lot of people missed this movie was a detriment to Ryan Gosling because they saw him in Barbie and was like, oh, this guy can be funny. Well, he was funny about 8 years before that or whenever Barbie came out. And I think that this is a movie that's having kind of a renaissance, a reassessment. People are starting to, and maybe not. Maybe I'm not as clued into like film Twitter and the film people out there as you guys are. But I feel like this is a film that's starting to have a little bit of a reassessment as far as how
Yeah,
good
I think
it
this is
was.
considered like a classic now.
Yeah, and which is sick to say. I mean, 10 years ago, I remember watching the trailer for the first time and just automatically being like, this might be the best thing I've ever seen. and luckily it held up. It's got great physical comedy. It's got great timing, and I think the partnership of Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling is wonderful. Plus, we get like young, early Margaret Qualley. We get Angourie Rice, and yeah, it's easily one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Man. Darn.
This was definitely on my list as a possibility. Yeah, this one is definitely, I agree with what you're saying. Like it's kind of been a reevaluated classic, I think, among cinephiles. Yeah, it's so, yeah, you mentioned like the physical comedy, just like the way that Ryan Gosling just like falls off a balcony, like
Screams.
yeah, so good. The cut to an ambulance, right when it gets hurt. Like just there are so many good gags in it, but they're also like, you know, pretty,
Trying to
yeah,
find
holding
Amelia.
but they're also like pretty good, you know, they're solid characters who are kind of on an arc here, and it's that stuff is well
Yeah.
done too. So yeah, I love the you know, period detail and stuff is all really good. It's just such a cool like hangout vibe, even though there's, you know, a lot going on. Yeah, great pick to start us off.
I would also be
It's
remiss to not mention the Kim Basinger and Russell Crowe reunion from LA Confidential as well.
Yeah. It's a great movie. It's been a great movie since it came out. It's a real shame that not many people went to go see it because I would love if we had at least another one of these. I don't usually clamor for sequels. This one I would have liked a sequel to. If they make one now and Shane Black writes and directs it and Gosling and Crowe do come back, will I watch it? Yes. Would I have wanted it sooner? Yes. But I think also it'd be really interesting to watch this movie now because, you know, at this point, like you said, Nick, Ryan Gosling had established himself as a really talented comedic actor. But I mean, look at all the comedies that he's done since. I mean, especially Barbie, what he did in that. Like, it'd be really fun to see him come back to this role after doing what he did in Barbie. So it's really, really great. And before we get to Veronica's first pick, I have to quickly mention one of Gosling's funniest moments in this movie, which is pretty much every single moment he's in, is towards the end of the movie where he just sits in with Russell Crowe and then Kim Basinger's in there. And then he starts doing like a Hitler impression. And he's like, I think he's comparing you to Adolf Hitler. So
I mean, there are a lot of tiny details, like genius physical comedy moments from Ryan Gosling, like when they're in the elevator and the guy flies out the window and his eye starts twitching, and like little moments like that. That's a lot of blood. That's a lot of blood.
it's so good. And then even just the shot of him sitting in the bathtub with the suit, that's so fucking funny to me. I don't know why.
I want to get "You Will Never Be Happy" tattooed on my on my hand.
You should.
I'm thinking about it, but it'd be cool to get you on with the smudge mark, but I don't know how
Yeah.
you tattoo a smudge mark. Maybe there's an artist out there that can do it.
There probably is. That's a great first pick. That's an awesome first pick. We're starting off the draft on an awesome note. So, Veronica, are you
Let's
gonna
just cut.
top?
We're done. Let's just cut it. Let's-
Yeah.
I think
that's
you
it.
won. I think you got it.
Are you gonna top Nick's pick, or
Probably.
where
Let's
are you
see.
gonna go with this?
Okay, so I definitely see the strategy of picking like a weaker category because you know you want to if you don't have a lot of options you want to get one out of the way. But I also think that there's some merit to picking one that's pretty crowded or has something super popular that I want to nab up before either of you can take it. So I think I'm going to go with drama, which I think there are a ton of great entries from this year. I think it was a better year for drama than
Stacked.
comedy overall. And I think that I am going to go with La La La. Just kidding, it's Moonlight, just like the Oscars. Yep, I am going Moonlight over La La Land, just like the Oscars eventually rightfully did. Yeah, Moonlight is obviously the Best Picture winner. I saw it when it came out and loved it, and as we might talk about that other film some point later in the draft, I was camps kind of formed with award season. I was definitely like Team Moonlight, rooting for it over the other one. But Moonlight I just rewatched it yesterday because I had seen it not in a few years. So I just wanted to like kind of like live in it again, and it's just a completely remarkable movie. You know, it's one of I think a lot of times what wins Best Picture is often like, oh, this should have won, or it's, you know, they kind of just went with the safe option or something. Like, this is an example of just like, in my opinion, the best film won. It's something that's, you know, a coming of age drama, but it's so complex. The using the three different actors to tell Chiron's story over time is something that could, you know, to kind of go badly. Like the performances could be sort of disjointed or anything, but they are so connected, and yet you're seeing the changes over time. The supporting cast is remarkable. You know, I think everyone rightfully points out, you know, Mahershala and Naomi, but I'm always so taken by Janelle Monáe. I just love her as a screen presence, and I think she is like such a welcome addition to that film. And yeah, I think that it is just it's shot so beautifully by Jenkins. Just his, the straight to camera sort of thing that he likes to do. The colors, the lighting, and everything in it is just really beautiful. It's the kind of thing that, like, on paper, it's like, okay, coming of age drama, a queer black boy, coming into his own. But it's just like so much more than that. It just has everything that you could want. It's a, you laugh, you cry. It's a really cinematic experience. And I think it just, like, represents the best of this year and that decade, really.
Yeah, it's you can make an argument that it might be the best film of the 2010s. Like, there's a lot of people that have titled Moonlight as that. It wouldn't be my favorite of the 2010s. It's definitely up there for sure. But I do think that everything you said about it winning Best Picture was so deserved, even though it wasn't my number one film of that year. If you look at that list of Best Picture nominees, that was objectively the best of that bunch. And also, it has aged very well as a Best Picture winner because, we think about a lot of these Best Picture winners, and Veronica, you were saying that sometimes they go with a very safe pick where it's like, oh, okay, like this should have won. You got to think about, like, what's the film that defined that particular period of time. And I think that when you look at 2016 and the movies that came out that year and just filmmaking in general, Moonlight was such a game changer. I think it's the lowest grossing or the cheapest made film to win Best Picture. I think it only cost like $1.2 million to make, and it won Best Picture at the Oscars over these films that cost like 30 times more than that. And that to me is really extraordinary. This little indie underdog ended up taking the top prize in Hollywood, and I think that that's so inspiring. And the film has just aged so strongly over the years for me. It gets better and better every time I revisit it. And Barry Jenkins, he's a masterful filmmaker. He's given us a lot of really great work, and his love for cinema is so near and dear to me. And I think that this film is so special in so many ways. So, yeah, this is a great pick. Nick, do you have anything to add about Moonlight?
Well, just kind of piggybacking off of what you guys said, I think it kind of changed the idea of what could win and what was possible. Like you said, made for nothing and was still able to have this huge impact. And I think, if anything, that's significant and important going forward in years that have come since. And it is not a film I go back to frequently, but it's memorable because it is so beautifully shot. It is a beautiful story, and there's some incredibly wonderful performances, and it gave us Mahershala, and I think that's on its own is a beautiful thing.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so Veronica drafted Moonlight in drama.
Which way are you gonna go? You could go two ways.
This is really difficult. I could piggyback on the comedy and the drama of it all, or I could go with a different category to kick it off with. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go with a different category. I am going to go with Oscar nom, and when you look at all the Oscar-nominated films, whether it was Best Picture or just a single nomination below the line or above the line, there's a lot of really good films to choose from. But I think that I am going to go with Arrival, Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi masterpiece, in my opinion. The film that made me go, oh, he's going to kill it with Blade Runner. Like, when this came out, he had already signed on to do Blade Runner, and I was like, oh, okay, he's going to kill it with that. And then, obviously, he did. Arrival is one of those films that when it came out, I literally went into it knowing nothing except for who was in it and who directed it, and that was it. I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't read any synopsises. So when the movie begins and we get that incredibly devastating opening sequence, I'm like, oh, we are in for something really, really special with this. And then the rest of the movie is just truly exceptional. And it's the kind of sci-fi film that I really gravitate towards. Of course, I love the very big, exciting, enthralling sci-fi stuff like a Star Wars or later on he made Dune and everything. But I really love the more grounded sci-fi stories because, you know, obviously I'm not saying that this can't happen, but it's least likely that something like this will happen as opposed to something we see in like Star Wars or something in the Marvel movies and everything. And it's this very intimate character drama where I think this might be the best acting that Amy Adams has ever put out. And for years, a lot of people always talk about like, oh, this performance got robbed from the Oscars or it was snubbed and everything. And I don't like to use the word snub lightly, but Amy Adams was legit snubbed for a nomination for this. And honestly, if she had gotten nominated, I think she should have gotten the win personally because this is not only what I think is her best performance to date, I think it was objectively the best lead-in actress performance of that entire year, and we got so many great performances that year from actresses, both lead-in and supporting. But I really, really love Arrival. It's not my favorite from Denis Villeneuve because I honestly love everything that he's made that I've seen so far. There's still some earlier works from him that I haven't checked out, but I think that everything that he has made since becoming well known here in the States, from Prisoners onward, I love all of his stuff. I love the Dune films. I love Blade Runner, this, Sicario, Enemy, Prisoners, and his earlier stuff I really need to sit down and watch because I've heard nothing but great things about those films. So Arrival is going to be my first pick, an Oscar nom. So do you guys have anything to add about Arrival?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I know I saw it when it came out, and I think I liked it, didn't love it, but I rewatched it a couple years ago. I think in anticipation of Dune and everything coming out, and I totally connected with me 100% this time around. I think that I'm not always the biggest fan of Denis. He tends to be a bit more like of a like clinical director, a little bit of the like Kubrickian that doesn't always like completely land with me. But I think the match here of like that style with like a story that just at its core is like so emotional and sort of dramatic to watch Amy Adams go through and everything. And like you said, with like the grounded sci-fi of it and everything, when that's done well, it's just like a home run. So yeah, I think that this is definitely one of the most popular of the year and one of the best, like we said before.
I have to be honest, I have not seen this film since 2016. I I watched it in theaters, and Denis was at like an all-time high with me. He did Encendies, and then he did Enemy, and then he did Sicario, and then he did Prisoners, and at that point I was like riding the high, and it did not stick the landing for me at the time, but that's 10 years ago. I'm not the same person. So a rewatch would probably be in order, and then I can really figure out my thoughts on it. But that's probably why I wouldn't have picked it myself and allowed you guys to.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. It's just crazy to me that this movie got so many Oscar nominations and they didn't even nominate the lead of the movie.
Who won that year?
Yeah.
Emma Stone.
Okay.
Okay. Although she should not have won. Controversial take. She shouldn't have won. Of the nominees, she shouldn't have won. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. So
Maybe we won't. Maybe nobody will pick it.
maybe we won't. But I might bring up the film that I'm referring to that should have won of the nominees in that category. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. So next up for me. Just looking over a list of movies. I'm going to go with drama. And this is definitely more of a personal pick than a vote getter, but I know that this film, despite some controversy surrounding it, it's still a fairly beloved movie and everything. Nick is getting scared. I think Nick knows what I'm going to pick. You don't want to be my guardian?
No! I can't beat it.
Can't beat it. Manchester by the Sea.
Fuck!
This is going to be.
Excuse
my
me. Sorry.
drama
I'm so
pick.
sorry. Understandable.
I'm so sorry. Um, this is gonna be my drama pick. This is another film where, similar to Arrival, I went in knowing literally nothing about the movie. I didn't watch a trailer. I just knew who was in it and who directed it. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Lonergan. I love his plays so much. I read so many of them when I was in high school and in college. So I didn't realize that he was a filmmaker at this point. Like when this movie came out, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that he made movies. I thought this was his debut, but then it's like, oh no, this is the third film he's directed. I'm like, since when? Since when? When has he directed? And I, um, I, th- I'm a sucker for these very personal, intimate character studies like this. Despite everything that has been said about him and everything, and if he really is a terrible person, fuck him. But Casey Affleck's performance in this is truly lights out. It was, in
He
my
doesn't do
opinion,
anything.
like, yeah, he doesn't do anything. He's just angry and sad the whole time.
He's
He
just
has no
quiet.
emotion. He's just just quiet. Do you not know how hard it is to pull off a good quiet performance? Like,
Definitely, yeah.
it's
Look,
it's one of the hardest things to do as an actor, and I say that as if I'm an actor, but I I can't even imagine the kind of performance that he put into this, especially because, like, he's a father himself in real life, and he went through a not great divorce. I was reading about that right around the time that this movie came out, actually, which is crazy. But, you know, it's a very quiet movie. It definitely isn't everyone's cup of tea. It's very talky and very intimate and laid back and grounded. And there are moments where people are yelling, and I think it's so riveting from start to finish. And there's also some interesting elements of comedy incorporated into it. It wouldn't be Kenneth Lonergan if there isn't some comedy sprinkled throughout. And the comedy felt earned. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna make you bust out laughing and everything. No, it's like the kind of comedy that you need to put in a situation where you're going through a traumatic experience, like the traumatic experience that these characters go through in the movie. Yeah, I mean, Casey Affleck's performance is revolutionary. I think Michelle Williams, this might be my favorite performance that she's ever given. It's up there, and it's crazy because it is the true definition of a supporting performance. She's not really in the movie a lot, but when she is, it's a very impactful performance, and it did launch Lucas Hedges into our eyes, and that's a great breakout performance, and I love that he got nominated for an Oscar. I think that that's really cool. But there's so much that I could say about Manchester by the Sea. I I think that this movie is one that, strangely enough, I've seen so many times, despite the fact that it has a very depressing subject matter. But it's the kind of film to where, as someone who loves dialogue-heavy films, these are the kind of films that really gravitate towards me. And I remember going to my little indie theater by my college. My dad came to visit me up at school, and we went to go watch this. And I'll say this: my dad is a guy that never cries during movies. It's very rare for my dad to cry. My mom is the crier of the family, and so is my sister. Veronica, funny enough, knew my sister growing up, and I just think it's such a funny story and everything. But basically, me and my father, we're the ones who don't really cry very often, and really ever. But my dad during this movie, I don't know what did it for him, but he was a mess. And I'm like, oh my God, father, you're crying.
Daddy.
Dada. But no, there's so much that I could say about this movie that has been said already. I think it's awesome that this film won a couple of Oscars and was nominated for a bunch of them. I think if this had won Best Picture, it would have been a deserving one. I think they made the right call with giving it to Moonlight, but if Manchester by the Sea had been rewarded, I think that would have been really cool. But yeah, I love this movie so, so much. It's very, very special to me. I adore it. Nick, since you were very vocally upset that this was taken, what does this film mean to you?
Everything. It means everything to me. I have a very personal relationship to this film, being somebody that lost a father, and I think that, like you said, the performance by Casey Affleck is very reserved and quiet, and I think sometimes that's what it needs to be. I think, like you said, it's even harder to do something like that. You watch the clips during the Oscars when they show off the characters and the actors. There's always somebody screaming or yelling or it's not always about somebody trying to internalize their feelings and then trying to project that on their face in their acting. It is, other than some of your typical Boston arguments, a quiet film, a meditative film. The random sprinklings of choral music, kind of, I don't know. It's just it really is not your typical beautifully shot film, but there's a lot of shots of the water, of the snow, and it's kind of what, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm thinking about a lot of things when I talk about this movie, and one of them is my dad, and I very much feel what Lucas Hedges feels. I have to, anecdote, personal anecdote. The day before I had to go and deal with my dad and the funeral, or the funeral parlor arrangements, I watched this movie because it was the one way I felt like I could, strangely enough, feel some sort of comfort, because I was thinking about Lucas going to the funeral parlor, walking in and seeing his dad, and immediately turning around. And I was like, that would be me. I mean, that's exactly how I would react in that scenario. And it's, I don't know. Ever since I saw it, even before my dad passed, it had this huge impact. And I just think that it's one of my favorite movies altogether that's ever come out. And I'm pretty sure too it was like one of the first like really exclusive Prime films.
Yeah, Amazon
So
like acquired it for like a lot of money. It premiered at Sundance. I remember like it was a huge hit at Sundance. It was like topping the charts of a lot of people's favorite films from that festival, and it went through like a huge bidding war, and multiple studios were trying to buy it. Then Amazon made its way, and this was obviously long before they ended up taking MGM and everything.
Yeah.
This was when they were trying to really establish themselves as a serious film studio and everything. And what's interesting too, I don't Casey Affleck, I don't even think was supposed to be in the movie
It
originally.
was
It was
supposed to be
supposed to
Matt
be Matt
Damon.
Damon, yeah.
But
And I'm sure he would have done a good job too, but there's something about Casey that was just perfect for this role.
I agree.
Like you could see, like you see his face and you go, that's Lee Chandler.
It's easy to look back now and be like, it wouldn't have felt right.
Right.
But I don't think it would have. I think that Casey is not as big as Ben, and I think that having not as much of a distraction on screen really helped. And I just think even the supporting cast, Kyle Chandler, Matthew Broderick shows up, and yeah, just like you said, I didn't know Kenneth Lonergan before this, but it made me scout out his other films previously. You Can Count on Me and Margaret, and I'm a fan for life after. So I'm anxiously anticipating something new, but just a really incredible film.
Yeah. What about you, Veronica? What's your feelings towards Manchester by the Sea?
yeah, I haven't rewatched it or revisited since 2016. I don't think. Definitely saw it then, and found it very effective and yeah, great performances all around. But you both spoke about it beautifully. So yeah, I will leave it there. I don't have too much to add.
It is a weirdly rewatchable movie.
It's so
Considering the
weirdly
subject matter.
rewatchable, and it's
Sometimes,
it's so sad, and like there's plenty of sad movies where you're like, I can never watch this again, but for some reason, this one I could watch it anytime.
sometimes the like darkest, saddest ones, and especially if you have some sort of connection to it, it can just feel comforting to just live
Yeah.
with someone else, feeling what you're feeling. Like that's the power of a really great movie.
And that lends itself to like the natural dark humor that occurs in moments of grieving.
just like even random cuts, like the one scene where he's trying to unlock the car or whatever, and then it's random moments like that
Nice
where someone,
parenting.
yeah, nice parenting, great director cameo from Kenneth Lonergan, but
Yeah.
no, it's a great film. It's so good, and if we talk about it more and more, this is just going to be a Manchester by the Sea
Yeah,
pod.
shut up about it.
So Veronica, it's your turn. What's going to be your next draft pick?
Yeah, I'm looking through some picks. I think I'm gonna go towards the strategy of like a category I feel is a little bit lighter this year, something that I don't have a ton of. So there are some that I really like, but there's not like a litany of things that I could pick from. So I think I'm gonna go for action horror. And there are sort of two movies I'm deciding between. One is eligible in other categories, so I think I'm gonna let that one sit for a bit. And I'm gonna pick Hush, Mike Flanagan's movie from this year,
Interesting.
which is, I guess, maybe not the biggest film, but it was on Netflix. I think it was one of the first kind of big Netflix movies, and I think it got a lot of traction that way, and a lot of people discovered it, and hopefully discovered Mike Flanagan, who is one of my favorite working directors and writers, especially. Yeah, Hush is a small film, sort of like Moonlight, a smaller budget, one location. It stars Mike Flanagan and his real life partner, Kate Siegel. They wrote the film together. It's a sort of, well, it's not what I would typically go for in a horror movie. I tend to lean more towards, what could be called elevated horror, and this is a bit more of a straightforward, like, there's a bad guy outside trying to get in and kill our protagonist, but it's just so effectively done. The performances and the scares and everything are just really, really smart. I think Kate Siegel is great in this. She plays a deaf woman, so she's obviously at like a disadvantage when this madman played by John Gallagher Jr. just shows up outside her house. And yeah, I just think that it's such a cool collaboration between them. I got to see it sometime last year. They presented it with the Shush cut, which was shot in all black and white, which was the original intention, that Netflix wouldn't let them do at the time. And then they reworked some of the sound and everything too, and that was so cool. They were like, the villain in the movie uses a crossbow, and there were like one or two moments that like it sounded like a crossbow was coming from behind you, like into the screen. Basically, it was just really cool, and I got to see Mike and Kate introduce it, and I just love them. I love their partnership. I love everything that they've created so far. I think this is just such a effective, tight, really cool horror movie that I hope a lot of other people like if they've seen it. But yeah, what do you guys think about it?
I needed to check out that Hush cut. I thought it was really cool when Scream Factory put out the 4K release of all the cuts, including that one. So I need to go back and check it out. I was not a huge fan of it the first time I saw it, and that was before I really knew. Well, really before Mike Flanagan became who he was. I think it was before Hill House and before Bly Manor and all these other excursions into limited series. But yeah, it's just like a really simple premise that I think Kate Siegel is just always incredible in what she does. She's very emotive, and she's always at the top of who's good and what.
I have not seen this movie, so I cannot comment on it. I admittedly haven't seen a lot of Mike Flanagan's stuff. Um, I have to be very careful what I say about this because I know there's a fan base towards it.
You're done.
I'm president of the Flaniverse.
Well, Doctor Sleep was one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen in my life, and I can't entirely blame Mike Flanagan, but like.
He was between a rock and a hard place. You have the Kubrick movie, you have the Stephen King, and they are at war.
Blame it on Stephen King.
I will defend that movie another time, but I understand, but I disagree.
That's fair. That's fair. But I did like The Life of Chuck. I did enjoy The Life of Chuck. So I do need to watch all of his television stuff. So I'm very behind on the Mike Flanagan stuff. His Exorcist movie sounds kind of interesting. I know that he's doing a Carrie series for Amazon, which sounds pretty cool. I do like the Carrie story, so I'm interested to see his spin on that. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to again go for the the hard picks. I definitely have a hard pick that I'm gonna try to grab later on if no one grabs it for me, but we'll see. All right, Nick, it's your next. You have two films to draft. So what are you going to pick?
Okay, I've been thinking about this while we've been going on, and I think I'm gonna first take my drama, and I think I'm gonna do it. We are the ones who dream. La La Land. That's it. We're done.
I was considering it on this pick, but I had sort of indicated that I wouldn't, so I didn't want to be an asshole.
I know. I there's other things I would want to talk about, but I think I'm gonna go with a combination of my heart and what I think is a winner. I don't know. Is it a winner anymore? Do people still like this movie? Has it transcended the 10 years?
I think people still really like the movie and everything.
I saw this in theaters and was blown away. Musicals for me are very simple. If I think the songs are catchy, I like it. And there's not a song in here that I don't like. All the dance numbers are really well done. Starting out on the LA freeways, I just Another Day of Sun is just like one of those ear piercingly catchy songs that just kind of straps you in for the rest of the ride. And I think it's just a wonderful throwback to old Hollywood musicals while also putting it in a contemporary setting. And I think the chemistry between Ryan and Emma is incredible. And I mean, after Damien did Whiplash, I was like, I'll watch anything this guy does. And I even watched this as recently as last year, and it still held up. I think I finally pushed it to the 5 stars because I really have a hard time finding a fault in it myself, and it's just magical. It really is like movie magic on screen.
Yeah, I joke around with people a lot, being like, "Oh my God, La La Land it's good, but let's calm down." No, it is a great movie objectively. It's just, in my opinion, I think that when people think of 2016 movies or movie musicals, and people put this like at the absolute top, I'm like, there were better movies and everything. But like you said, it's a lovely throwback to the old Hollywood musicals, and those two performances are really great together and separately. They're wonderful, and I really hope that they do another collaboration together down the road. I would love for them to work together again. Yeah, it is really incredible filmmaking that Damien displays, and to follow up Whiplash with this, I think is really inspiring. And the career that he's done very different projects. He's only made 5 films so far, and they're all very different from one another. And now he's finally gearing up to make his next film, and it's supposed to be like a prison drama. But I think La La Land is a really special film. I will say that being a freshman in film school when this came out was very exciting, but also very nauseating, because we were all so hotly anticipating this movie and everything, because this was, for a long time, a lot of people were like, this is going to be like the film of 2016. And then obviously it ended up not winning the top prize. It did for 3 minutes, but then after that, it didn't. But
I think it brought a lot of people joy that happened to the film too.
I agree. I agree. Do you guys think that if this had won Best Picture, and I asked this to so many people, if this had won Best Picture, do you think the film would have aged well, or do you think it would have aged poorly? Because then people would have been like, this is the film that stole Moonlight's Best Picture Oscar.
I think it definitely helps its legacy that it didn't win, for sure. And also, not to go too far outside of the movie world, but this was the year of the 2016 election and everything, and I think people were feeling like, and again, I like just the idea of like Moonlight versus La La Land. It felt very much like are we going to honor the sort of traditional old ways of the Academy, or are we going to like kind of progress a little bit in one way, if not another? So I feel like it just would have gotten tied to just everything at the time, and yeah, it's I mean, it's crazy what actually happened at the Oscars with announcing it and everything. Like that's sort of this weird wrinkle, but I think overall, yeah, it's so helpful for it that it didn't win, because then everyone would just be, turning their nose up it and saying, well, Moonlight is better anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that only helped it really. It only like even though they didn't win, it's still tied to the Oscars and that year forever because of the moment. You always think of that. So I it one thing that it did was create this idea in my head that I wanted to move to LA, which is not something that I want to do, especially after I had visited it before this movie came out. But it had this like it gripped me. It was like I want to do something in this city. Like this is the beauty of the city, and this is what it can do and how it can make you feel. And even when I watch it now, it's okay. Don't cry, Brian. I know it's fine. But even to this day, it's like, wow, what a life it would be to live in LA and be famous and then I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't think I could live that life. But it gives you that idea that it's possible. Keep dreaming, and one day it could happen if you look like Emma Stone.
Yeah, I have been on a journey with this movie. So as I said, it came out in 2016. I mean, when I saw it, I think just my expectations were like through the roof, because I'm a theater kid, as we know. It had already probably been out for, as I said, I wasn't so into, seeing things when they first released right away. So I think that the hype had already been there, that like this is, the greatest musical of the 21st century and everything. And I think my expectations were too high. I think that I was a little thrown off by some of the pacing, and that this is still sort of a criticism I have, that it kicks off with a bunch of great songs, and then it just sort of slows down and like a little bit forgets that it's a musical. There are some the sort of dramatic scenes between the couple, that they're a little bit more like written as like a mumblecore indie drama, which is something that I think I like a little bit more now than I did at the time. So that grew on me, but it's like that, for a musical, that could have been like a really great song or a really great, some sort of moment. So I think I still like can nitpick it a little bit. But through the years, I've seen clips all over the place. It's always floating around on film Twitter in some way. I loved Damien Chazelle's other movies since then. I loved First Man. I am Babylon Hive all the way down. I absolutely loved Babylon. And I was like, I have to go back to La La Land at some point. And I'm sure like it must have grown on me a little bit. And so I watched it last night. I finished it like well after midnight. And I mean, as I said, still have a few nitpicks, but like overall, I was wrong. This is a fantastic movie. And like, it's so captures that. And I love the blending of sort of very, I forgot how sort of like old school Hollywood musical it was. Like, I think I was just, I don't know. I think, you sort of get an idea of it in your head rather than what it actually is. And, I just loved how faithful it was to that stuff, but then mixed in. And I think I had an issue then, I was probably a little bit more like of a jaded 20-year-old being like, I just didn't feel their struggle necessarily of like artistic and overall like success in life, because it was just like, well, everything is so beautiful and like everything, like it doesn't feel like these people have real problems. And I think I was able to better connect now to like the heightened version of it. Like none of this is, as you said, it's inspiring to want to go to LA, but like LA is not like that. Like it's, it's obviously
Right.
a very,
It's dreamy.
yeah, it's dreamy. It's a staged version of it. And I think I was better able to like appreciate that artifice now, rather than being like, I don't get this. It's not, this is not real life or anything. So, definitely grew on me. I think I also like Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling a little more now than I did then. Emma Stone, I think the 1-2 punch in 2023 of Poor Things and The Curse on TV was like that. She's like can do absolutely no wrong in my eyes. So I think back then I was like, oh, she's just sort of a typical rom-com protagonist. I didn't really think that there was anything, but there's so much going on with her. I think her her voice is good. I think that so much of her like goofy sort of sense of humor comes out in this, and that's really cool for like a leading lady performance. I just think that I've done a turnaround. You're all right. you're correct. La La Land is a very great movie.
There we go. Our plan works, Nick.
Yep, you got me.
You have been changed for good. Okay. Is that it? Is that all we want to say about La La Land? We can keep going.
We got more movies to draft.
I think I'm gonna go with another category that is very lacking in my opinion, and I'm going to pick box office, and I'm gonna do something brazen.
Oh no. Oh no.
Star Wars Rogue One.
That was the other one I was considering in action and.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So maybe it's a decent pick. Okay. I'm going to say something probably controversial.
I already know what you're gonna say. I've known you for too long. Veronica, strap in. I don't know how Veronica's
ready.
gonna feel about this take.
Rogue One is the best Star Wars anything that's been made.
I don't hate it.
And that I think that's it. I think it's the best Star Wars film that's ever been made. I think that what Gareth Edwards was able to do with this was just incredible. I also have to preface this. Brian knows this, but I am not a Star Wars fan, really. Which is probably why it makes it easy for me to say that. But I think that when I watched this in theaters, I was just totally blown away. I was blown away by the spectacle, and I am probably the train conductor on the Godzilla 2014 is an amazing film, Train. And I think that what Gareth Edwards was able to copy and paste into this worked really well. The ability to visualize scale and perspective. A lot of what he films is like from the ground, looking up at what you're seeing. And I think that it was able to kind of ground and humanize Star Wars in a way that it hadn't done yet, maybe. At least how I feel. Like when you're on the ground with the AT-ATs charging towards the characters. When I mean, can we talk for a second about Darth Vader's scene? I mean, that is one moment in a whole film, but I think about that moment all the time when I think of Star Wars. I think it was just so perfectly executed. And even the transition between, I guess, making it a bridge movie and bridging it right into A New Hope. I am not a huge fan of the putting the faces on other actors. I don't love that, but if it was what you're going to do, I think they did it pretty well for the most part. And yeah, it's just, in my action films, this is the kind of stuff I love. And I love Gareth Edwards' direction.
Okay, now when you say best Star Wars thing ever, are you including Andor? Because that's obviously connected to Rogue One.
I have not seen Andor yet. I
Okay.
want to, because it is connected. I've heard nothing but good things. So it could eventually make its way up the list. But as of right now, it's at the top.
If there are two things I'm going to do on this podcast, it is preach Mike Flanagan and preach Andor, I definitely see where you're coming from with Rogue One being one of the better movies. It's definitely in my like top tier Star Wars, and I think it is just so, obviously it sort of serves as the finale of Andor. Rogue One leads up to A New Hope, and Andor leads up to Rogue One, essentially. And so I think that Rogue One was just such a good idea to sort of. It's essentially explaining what could be considered a plot hole, basically, in the original Star Wars. Yeah. So I think it was so smart to sort of take that idea of like, why would there be this hole that you could hit that would just blow up the entire Death Star? And it's like, well, if a engineer on it was secretly working against the Empire, and so filling in that backstory is it's so smart, and it's a really well done action movie. I think that I would call Andor the best Star Wars thing ever, and so I think that it's sort of interesting. Andor sort of simultaneously helped and hurt Rogue One in my mind because it's such a, Tony Gilroy is the showrunner on Andor. He sort of, I believe he came in a little late on the script of Rogue One, and
It was
so
messy.
it was very messy, yeah. And he's I think I talked about it before. Like he didn't entirely get to make the movie that he wanted to make. It was a little bit of a compromise. So it's he's talked about that before, and I think that he's such a brilliant mind behind Andor, and I think he makes that like incredible writing where it's so clear and like that, like you just identify a plot hole and it's like, well, let's fill something in there with like complete characters, really cool moments, and just fills everything in with such like moral clarity that everything just sort of makes sense, and it's like, of course it would be this way, but you never thought about it before. So so with Andor, it's like it kind of, I watch Rogue One and I'm like, oh, this is, Cassian is this character that I now have so much more history and love for, but also I think that Rogue One is not necessarily as good as anything in Andor. It does sort of come down to being like a really good action movie, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with. And I think that it's, it still serves its purpose in the larger canon. So yeah, it's like a bit of a complicated one, but definitely one that I love. And it's you can say that with your chest that it's one of the best Star Wars movie. I definitely can get behind that.
I do like Rogue One. I just prefer other Star Wars movies over this one. But I do like the idea of us getting an anthology Star Wars, because I remember when they announced that they were doing this, and I'm like, that's pretty cool to do something separate from the main episodic titles and everything. And while when I saw Rogue One for the first time, I remember I went at like 8 o'clock that Thursday night with all my friends and everything. We were having the time of our lives, and admittedly, the film hasn't aged strongly for me. I still really enjoy it, but I am not as high on it as I was when it came out. But yeah, I mean, you bring up that Darth Vader scene, and people have said, "Oh, that's just a fan service scene." Even if it is, it's a great scene.
Serve me.
Like, it's great. That's a good example of fan service, in my opinion, that works. But yeah, and I also haven't seen Andor, admittedly, and I've been wanting to watch it ever since it dropped. But I need to really get on top. I'm just not that on top of television. Like, film is really the thing for me. Like, occasionally there'll be a TV show that comes out that I'm really on top of, but I have to really be in the TV mood to like watch
Yeah.
all this TV, and that's a top priority for me for sure. That one.
Yeah, no, I'm not shaming anyone. There's so much to catch up with. No one can like watch it all.
How could I watch that when I'm in the middle of watching The Pit and everything? So
I mean, you can't even watch movies from before 1990, so I don't know how you're gonna get to
that's not
TV.
true.
I what was I gonna say? Oh, it was at like the peak of like my Felicity Jones love too, because I had seen her in Like Crazy with Anton Yelchin before that, and I was like, it's so crazy that she gets to be in this big budget Star Wars film,
Yeah.
coming off of like these much smaller films.
She
which is-
literally had gotten an Oscar nom for Theory of Everything, then she
Yeah.
immediately jumped into making this, and that's pretty
Yeah.
cool if this is your
was-
first role after getting an Oscar nomination.
huge trajectory, which is typical. You start in something small and you build up to the big stuff, but it was like my first real exposure to that machine and how that worked.
Yeah. Good
All
pick.
right.
Good
Yeah.
pick.
I think I am up next. Let's see. So yeah, we said that there's a comedy, maybe not quite as strong this year. I'm gonna pick one that is a favorite of mine. Again, not the biggest film in the world, but I think it has its fans. I am gonna go with The Edge of 17, starring Haley Steinfeld. I believe written and directed by Kelly Fremont Craig. I love this movie. I don't think I saw it right when it came out. I probably caught up with it maybe a couple of years later. Knew that I loved it. It's been kind of one of my favorite sort of teen comedies ever since I saw it. Rewatched it this week because I knew I loved it, but I just kind of wanted to. It had been a while. I wanted to see it again, and it totally held up. It's like such an awesome mix of I think it definitely qualifies as a comedy, but like there's a lot of there's some dark stuff in here in terms of Haley Steinfeld's character's journey here with as Nadine. Her father passes away years before the film really picks up. She sort of has just one friend in the world, Krista, played by Haley Lou Richardson, which I think that was the first thing I saw her in. She's such a cool presence now.
Love her.
Yeah, and so it's really smart about it because I think that, you know, she's sort of like juxtaposed with her older brother, played by Blake Jenner, who is sort of like the jock, the super popular kid. And she's sort of supposed to be like this, you know, loser. And I think a lesser movie would have like uglified her or something. Like, obviously Haley Steinfeld is like a beautiful, likable, like really cool person. And I think that, you know, it would have been the easy route out to just like make her look insane or like have her be, you know, have some sort of deficiency that's like makes it obvious why like people don't like her as much as her brother, why she's so much, you know, feels so much less comfortable around other people. But it's just sort of like all there in the performance. Like, you know, she's just kind of like an abrasive person, and she's just so like, she's just hurting so badly inside, and she can just, you can just tell that like she has nowhere to put that energy, and it just kind of comes out in all the wrong ways, and she's, you know, struggling to be herself, but also, you know, not to hold things back, to not like offend other people like actively. And so I think that's just so well done. And, you know, she has, it's a great performance from Woody Harrelson as her teacher, who's sort of like the one person that she goes and talks to as she's going through things in the film. And he is just sort of like just as abrasive back, which I think was like really kind of refreshing to see. He has some hilarious lines. He's like just doesn't take any of her shit, and it's just kind of exactly what she needs at that moment. I sort of forgot about Kira Sedgwick's performance as her mother, and that's like really, she's sort of, you know, at odds with Nadine the entire time. She's sort of very like, it's weird. She's like not a terrible mother, but like she's not great. She's very self-involved. You can kind of just see where like she just thinks that everything bad is happening to her, and doesn't really consider, you know, Nadine and what she's going through. And so, yeah, there's just like a lot of nuance here. It's I think that Kelly Fremont Craig, you know, she also did Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, in 2023. And I think that she is just such a great talent for the kind of movies that like we just don't get enough of anymore. You know, this sort of like exploring real people and their problems, relationships, family dramas, things like that. This was, I believe both movies were produced by James L. Brooks, and that's just like, you know, not with what he's currently making today. Sorry, Ella McKay. But, you know, back in the day, I think that he was just the absolute master of that. He's made some of those kinds of best, you know, comedy dramas that we've ever seen. And I think that this is just such a like great addition to the coming of age teen comedy canon.
That's crazy. I didn't know he did that. Mm-hmm. I don't have a huge relationship with the movie. I've seen it once and I really enjoyed it. I've always been a fan of Haley Steinfeld since True Grit, and I'll watch pretty much anything she's in. And I do remember really enjoying Edge of 17, even as somebody that can't exactly relate to it, but it's just a good movie.
Yeah, this is a favorite of mine in terms of coming of age films that have come out within the last 10 to 15 years. I think this movie is really underrated and very underappreciated, and Kelly Fremont Craig needs to continue making all the films she's done. I mean, she's only done 2, and they're both 2 gems in the coming of age genre. And yeah, everything that you specifically said about Woody Harrelson, I want to piggyback to that. There's when I rewatched the movie a little under 2 years ago because I covered it on my last podcast. And there's so many moments that he would just say certain things, and they wouldn't necessarily be funny, but it was Woody's delivery that made them funny. When she comes in just showing the text message, and he's just like, you need to watch out for run-on sentences. Like, what?
She's showing a text message that like could ruin her life, yeah.
Like I feel like that's something that would have had to happen to her in real life to write a line like that.
It's
so
the writing is so specific, which is, you know, as a lot of people say, like specificity makes universality. Like there's just so many things that it's like, oh my god, no one would say that, but like these characters.
He's amazing in that movie, and Haley is wonderful in it too. That's a great pick. I love that movie. I have 2 picks now. This is really tough because some of these movies, I don't know if I would even classify them as movies that would fall into these categories, but
Oh, okay, might have some category fraud?
We might have category fraud. According to Letterboxd and IMDb, they are eligible for their respective categories. So
That's
we're
enough for
gonna
me.
we're gonna play it by ear, and we're gonna see what happens. Um, yeah, comedy, kind of echoing what Veronica and Nick were saying before. It's not a great year for straight up comedies. There's movies that have comedic elements to them, but in terms of straight up comedies, there's really not many to choose from. So this is tough. This is really really hard. But if I had to go with, I'm just trying to find a way to incorporate this film into getting drafted.
I definitely had the same. Like, there were a couple picks where I was like, "Can I put this in this category?" So I'm curious what it's gonna be.
So there's one that I want to go with my heart, but I think what I'm going to do is follow the rules and go with one that is actually eligible for this. So for comedy, I'm going to take the incredible, the underrated, the phenomenal pop star Never Stop, Never Stop It.
Oh, not what I thought you were gonna say.
Well,
Definitely a
I'm
comedy.
curious to know what it is that you. But we could save it if it gets drafted today or whatever. I love The Lonely Island. Andy Samberg is my guy. This movie, I remember seeing it opening weekend. It was me and two other people, and that was it. It made no money. Nobody saw this movie, which really broke my heart because it was so clever and so original and so unique. And I was like, this is the kind of comedy that we need now, and nobody is going to watch it. And it really devastates me that this movie, despite the fact that it failed at the box office, it had a very successful run with the critics, and it's gained quite a cult following in the last 10 years. It's not my favorite Lonely Island outing. There aren't too many in the film world, but this is a great entry into that catalog. It's so good. And Andy Samberg, he's always been one of those guys that I've always really loved watching in anything. When I started watching SNL 15 years ago, he was still on SNL at that point. That's when like Bill Hader was also on it, and Jason Sudeikis and Kirsten Wiig and everything. So all these people that went on to have really successful careers post SNL were on SNL at this point. And Andy Samberg has had a really great trajectory following his run at SNL. Obviously, not only with the movies that he's done, but the television stuff. I brought up before that I'm not a huge television watcher, but I loved Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I was a huge Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, and I loved his performance on that show. And everything else that he's done in the film world. This film is great. Hot Rod is great. Palm Springs, I think, is one of my favorite films of the decade so far. I don't usually love I'm not a big rom-com guy, but that's like a fantastic rom-com that I just watch nonstop all the time. But Popstar is so good and so meta and so on the nose, and the hologram Adam Levine stuff really gets to me. I don't know why it works so well for me. There's so much to say about this movie. I haven't watched it in many years. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I think I've only seen it once. Let's see. I'm going to. Yeah, I haven't seen it since 2016, so I need to give it another watch. But it's so funny. It's so good. So that's gonna be my pick for comedy. Do you guys have anything you want to add about Popstar?
No.
This was on my list to try to watch this week, and I didn't get to it. I have somehow never seen it. I have to catch up with it. And I love the other, Lonely Island. I loved Naked Gun last year. I loved
Naked Gun, yeah.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. So I'm
That
sure
one
I
was
would
good
love
too.
it. Yeah, I'm sure I would love it. I just haven't had the chance to see it yet. But good pick.
I saw it within the last couple years, and there were some funny moments, but it didn't stick with me like some comedies do. But another one that seems like maybe it's having like a reassessment because they're always putting out like new physical versions of it, and I see people quote it all the time, and so it's, if your movie dies in theaters, it doesn't always mean it's a dead movie.
Right.
Yeah, I think especially as people kind of bemoan the loss of like the pure straight up comedy, like we don't get too many of those anymore.
Yeah.
Like that seems like, they sort of are keeping that alive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What you got for your other pick?
I think next I'm gonna do action horror. but I don't know if I want to go with an action movie or a horror movie. I'm
Go with
kind
an
of
action horror movie.
there's not many to choose from that are both action and horror, admittedly. Um oh man, this this is so tough. Um
I feel like there's a pretty big one that is still out there.
there is, but I don't know if I want to take it. Because now I'm starting to kind of lean towards what you guys were doing and going with picks from the heart.
It's just more
You're
fun to talk
finally
about
finding
movies
your
that
heart.
Finally,
your
my
heart
heart
grew
has
three
been found.
sizes.
So, okay, again, this might not even be eligible, but according to Letterboxd and IMDb, it is classified as a horror movie. So I'm gonna go with a film that came out one day before my birthday, which is really cool. I'm gonna go with 10 Cloverfield Lane for action horror. Would you
I had
guys
that on my-
consider this eligible for this? Do you guys think
I
it's
had it
eligible?
on my list.
I think that's eligible. Yeah, I would consider that horror thriller maybe.
Amazing. If you said no, it wasn't eligible, I was still gonna draft it anyway. So
I mean, when I said pick an action horror, that's the first one I thought of.
okay. It's so funny, my relationship with this movie, because I do like the first Cloverfield quite a lot, but it's never been a film that I've really loved. This film I genuinely think is incredible. And I remember going opening day to see it, and I was so blown away by it. And also, I just love how this movie was marketed and everything. Like, nobody knew of this movie's existence until
Right,
like
yeah.
2 months before it came out. It was titled something else, but no one knew anything. Then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, hey, there's a Cloverfield 2 coming out." Or whatever. It's tied to Cloverfield, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And then the trailer came out, and everyone was shitting their pants, and rightfully so. The movie is so good. Admittedly, the last 20-ish minutes aren't my favorite. That's definitely my least favorite part of the movie. I feel like that's unanimous with a
tacked
lot of
on.
people. It was clearly like an added on thing. I'd be interested to know if that was there from the beginning and everything, but I think that this movie, it's primarily a chamber piece. We're locked in this, underground bunker for 95% of the movie. And it's so claustrophobic and it's so intense. And you have these three performances at the forefront. Obviously, Veronica, you brought up a film with John Gallagher Jr. before, who this was the first thing that I saw him in. Although after I watched the movie, and you're a theater kid, so you'll appreciate this, I was like, I've seen this guy before, but I don't know where I've seen him before.
Yep.
So then I kept thinking back. I'm like, okay, have I watched him in a movie or a TV show? Then I was going through his filmography, and I'm like, no, I haven't seen any of this. And then I saw that he was an actor on stage, and I'm like, okay, I've seen him in
Really?
recordings of Spring Awakening, American Idiot, all these stage shows. I'm like, oh, that's where I know him from. It was the beard that caught me off guard. I was like, oh, I don't think I know this guy at all. But he's great. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is so badass in this. I think this is a really great performance from her. But John Goodman is the MVP of this movie, to where this is honestly one of those performances where it made me kind of think of like the last few years of how we've gotten these genre performances recognized. I mean, look at what had happened with, or what has happened with Amy Madigan in Weapons. When I saw that movie, I didn't think that was going to be an awards nominated performance, and now she's nominated for an Oscar for a straight up genre film, which is really badass. And I think that John Goodman, an actor who shockingly has never been nominated for an Oscar, I think this would have been a perfect
That's
time
so
to
crazy.
nominate him for this, because Veronica and I were talking last week on our episode of how there's all these career nominations and everything, but I think that even if you look at this as a career nomination, I think it would have been a very deserving nomination, because he's legit.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
so good in this. It's a very multi-layered performance, because there's a tenderness to him, there's a humbleness to him. He's funny, he's scary. You don't know what's going on with him. You don't know if he's lying or if he's telling the truth. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this character, and he plays it so beautifully. And this was Dan Trachtenberg's directorial debut, his feature debut, and for a feature debut,
Impressive.
it's very impressive. And it's not a very VFX heavy film like a Star Wars, for example. It's a bit more grounded. The VFX come in much later into the movie in the third act, but I think it's really exceptional work what he does here, and yeah, I just think the marketing behind the film was a really, really cool thing that I still think about 10 years to the day. Like, I remember going to the theater to watch that 13 Hours movie that Michael Bay directed, and they played the trailer in front of this, and I'm like, what is this movie? And then I was so blown away by this. I love 10 Cloverfield Lane. It it's the best in the Cloverfield franchise. Not that that's saying much because there's only been what 3 movies in this franchise. But yeah, this film is great. I love this film. Nick, I know that you're a fan of this one. I know that you also prefer this to the first Cloverfield. So kind of talk a little about your stance on this movie.
I mean, I don't have much else to add on. Everything you said is true. I think it's John Goodman is incredible in this, and it is kind of interesting how this was like a John Gallagher Jr. year, multiple things coming out, and like I just think it's a fun chamber piece. It's tension filled, and I haven't gone back to it in a while, but I know that it's not. It's the best one in the franchise, and it's definitely better. What's the other one? Paradox? Cloverfield Paradox? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, remember it dropped
God.
right after the Super Bowl? When your
Yeah.
team won the Super Bowl.
I know. That's the only reason I remember it is because of that. I was like, wow, we won the Super Bowl and we get a new Cloverfield film? And then like the whole excitement of the Super Bowl was lost because that film was awful.
Yeah, it's sort of similar. I know I saw it when it came out and really liked it, but I haven't caught up with it again since. So I don't really remember details or anything. But I mean, yeah, John Goodman is just like one of the greatest actors ever of all time. So crazy he hasn't gotten, Oscar attention as of yet. Hopefully there'll be something in the future.
He's going to be in Inarritu's new movie, so
Right.
who knows? Maybe that could be it.
Huh.
Hopefully. I'm placing a lot of hope on that for him and
Yeah.
for Tom Cruise. But yes, very cool, little sci-fi flick that is very effective from what I remember.
They just must
Absolutely.
not like weirdos. He's
No,
always
right? And
playing
it's
a
like he's
weirdo.
run the gamut. He's given all kinds of performances, like dramatic, comedic, like
How do you not nominate him for anything that he's done with the Coen brothers? He's been
Exactly,
in like
yeah.
20 of their movies, and he's never even gotten nominated for that.
How do you not nominate him for The Borrowers? I mean, that's like peak. That's his best work.
the Coen brothers need to get back together. We can get Oscars for him, for Steve Buscemi, all their regulars.
Steve Buscemi's
John
Oscar is
Turturro.
coming very soon. I'm predicting
John
that right
Turturro.
now.
Hopefully.
In what?
He's going to
Does
be
he
in
have
Martin
something
McDonough's
coming?
next movie.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
What's
Nick's-
Martin McDonough's next movie?
It's like another drama that I think is set on someplace in Ireland, and Steve Buscemi's in it, and Sam Rockwell and Parker Posey.
Okay.
Yeah, he got
And
Sam
Martin
Rockwell
McDonough we
and
trust.
he got Sam Rockwell and Francis another Oscar. So
Yeah.
all right, so my pick is next. Let me take a look. I think I'm gonna go for my box office next, and I'm going to go with. I think it was pretty popular then and now. I'm gonna go with Moana, which is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. I just sort of loved it from the very first image they put out. I just thought she looked so fun, and I think that the movie completely held up. It's just it's hard to have a new movie that sort of immediately enters the canon of Disney princess, Disney classic. I feel like Moana and Frozen were kind of like the best to do it. This century. I think that I love Ali'i Cravajo. It introduced us to her. She's it's funny. She's so tied to Moana, and yet also she's been able to break out and do a lot of other cool things. I thought she was really good in the Mean Girls musical and things like that. I think that the Rock, I'm usually okay, whatever if The Rock is here or not. But I think this is ironically one of like his best performances. Really, I think that he's just so indelible as Maui. The music, I'm remembering back now. This was also another reason I was anti La La Land, because this was the peak of me being obsessed with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and
Same with everyone else.
of course, La La Land stole my man's EGOT. He could have had the Oscar here for How Far
Damn.
I'll Go, which is, one of the best I want songs in Disney movies, in all of musicals. I think it's just like, outside of just being, an animated kids Disney movie, it's just like a fantastic musical. Like all of the best songs are there. I think it splits it up nicely between like the lead characters and the ensemble and stuff. Tomotoa the crab, he's got a great song. It's just there's a lot of the stuff with her grandma is just like so emotional. It gets me every single time. The animation is beautiful. The ocean looks fantastic. I'm such a like beach girly. I love to be in the water, and every single time I'm at the beach, I just have to say like I have to go to the water and like swim out as far as I can and pretend I'm Moana. Like it's got everything there for you. I think that it's like, me watching it as an adult in 2016, I was like, this is awesome. And I think that like kids then and now and forevermore will just be absolutely obsessed with it. So I think it's one of the best movies of the year.
And now we're sadly getting the remake of it, which is
Unfortunately.
absurd.
Yeah, I wish they would stop doing that, but it just goes to show how popular it is.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much I liked Moana when it came out. I think "Where You Are" is one of my favorite Disney songs. I just find it endlessly catchy, and yeah, it's just an interesting premise, a different sort of Disney princess, if that's what you wanna, if the term you want to use, branching out, and it's just a fun Disney film at a point where I felt like things were starting to fall off, and yeah, it's good. I like it.
Yeah, I think Moana is wonderful, and it's aged very well. I rewatched it recently when the sequel came out, and I still think the movie is wonderful. And when I eventually have kids, this is definitely one that I hope to show them, when I'm showing them the Disney films that gravitate towards me. And this is one that, even though Disney the last 10 to 15 years haven't put out a lot of great movies, I would say that this is definitely towards the top of what they put out in the last couple of years. And it's crazy that, there are so many instances where, like, I can't believe that this is this old and that is that old. It's crazy that Moana is 10 years old, because I remember seeing it like it was yesterday. It's crazy.
That is making me feel older than any other movie on this list, definitely. And because they announced it like a year before, so I feel like I was like anticipating it. And then when it was like, oh, it's finally out, and now it's been out for 10 years. It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
Sickening.
Ugh.
And my turn?
You got Chew the pick?
I'm gonna go with action horror.
Gee, I wonder what you're gonna
Okay.
pick.
I can't believe this is still available. I've been sitting here in anticipation, hoping that this wouldn't get chosen, and I'm gonna go with The Witch.
Do I type it as the witch, or do I type two V's?
The
VV?
Witch.
Do VV. You gotta do Vivitch. You gotta do
happening.
VV. That's the only way to do it.
It's happening. When I make the graphic for this, that's how it's gonna look, and people are gonna be so confused. But they just won't understand it. They're not true fans.
no.
They don't get it.
Well, then
Real ones will know.
Yeah, the real ones will know, and that's why I did all this with my heart, because if there's people out there that understand, then it's better to do it with the heart than with I don't know, whatever you're doing over there, Brian. I mean, this total like influential film for me. I remember seeing the trailer, oddly enough, at work. I think it was on TV in like the break room, and I was like, holy shit, that looks crazy. I want to go see that. And I remember watching this in theaters, and trying to understand what they're saying was a bit of an issue. And I remember people that I know watching it and hating it for the same reason. And I stood fast in my belief that I think this is a really good film. And those same people eventually turned around and felt the same way. And it's just gotten better with age. The tone and the vibe is, I don't know, can you say it's influential at this point in time? Like, it's totally dreary, muddy, wet, creepy. It introduced us to Anya. It introduced us to Robert Eggers and has made me a fan for life. Despite not loving Nosferatu, I'm still riding that train. I'm still on the Robert Eggers. If you poop a movie, I will watch it. I don't care. Like, everything you do is incredible. And I think Anya's performance, especially with how young she was at the time, incredible. Everybody in it, Ralph Ineson, Kate Dickie, the children, everything is so incredible. And I just want to live deliciously. That's all I can say.
Yep, can't argue with that. Yeah, I think The Witch was definitely my favorite Robert Eggers for a while. I really like The Lighthouse and The Northman. For me, Nosferatu did surpass The Witch. I like that even better. But yeah, it's definitely. I think that people would probably usually peg Hereditary with kicking off the like prestige horror sort of trend, but I think that this is probably more so what did it. Definitely the using the Old English. The way that Robert Eggers is just his attention to detail for period stuff is just like unmatched. He really likes everything to be very, truthful to the time as much as you can be. And yeah, fantastic performances, fantastic goat. Absolutely. Great pick.
Black Phillip is
I-
the star of our time. Let's just say that.
I think his ability and I guess fearlessness in dumbing anything down for the audience is commendable. I love that he just sticks to his guns, sticks to how he wants the film to be, and just, if you want to jump on, you can, but we're not waiting around for you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say too much about it, but it's an amazing film. The fact that it's a debut is just all the more impressive. It's one of the great directorial debuts that we've gotten in the last 15 to 20 years. And honestly, if you were to ask me my favorite debuts of the 21st century, this would honestly be on the list because this doesn't feel like it's a first-time film from a filmmaker. It feels like this guy's been making films for decades upon decades, but the fact that it's his very first, it just launched a exciting voice into the stratosphere, and everything that he's done since I've loved. The Lighthouse is probably my favorite thing that he's directed, but I love all four of his movies, and I'm very excited for this werewolf movie that he has coming out later this year. The Witch is incredible, and Anya's performance is lights out. She's so extraordinary in this. So, what is going to be your next pick, Nick?
So I think I have Oscar noms and wild card left over. It'd probably be wiser to go to Oscar noms, but I think I'm going to use my wild card here.
Oh,
Ooh, okay.
And I'm going to talk about a film that I don't hear people talk about. A Monster Calls.
ooh,
Oh, nice.
Anybody remember this film?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while either, but it's stuck with me all these years later. This is like early Jay Bayona, who did The Impossible. He did The Orphanage, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, most recently Society of the Snow. And what he was able to concoct here, it's heart-wrenching. Truly sickeningly heart-wrenching. Again, Felicity Jones popping up. She was like blowing up at this time. But it tells the story of a bully boy with a sick mother that finds, I don't know if you would call it comfort, but the ability to cope with a magical tree. And it's really a heart-wrenching movie. There's not really a lot positive about it, but I think that the performance from the little boy, Lewis McDougall, is incredible. Sigourney Weaver pops up. Tony Kebbell is good in it. And also, oh my God. Oh my God. What's his name?
Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Jesus, Liam Neeson.
That up and coming actor.
Yeah, that little guy. He'll be something someday. Yeah, he's very good as the tree. I think the visuals are pretty stunning. Geraldine Chaplin shows up.
Yes, she does.
We always need a little Geraldine in our lives.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, like I think I even wrote a review on Letterboxd at the time. I can't believe this movie made like $4 million or something. It's a crime that nobody has really seen or talked about this movie. And unfortunately, it's probably a victim of being lost to time. But I'll bang the drum. I'll bang the drum for it.
I love this movie so much, and I've been championing this movie since it came out. And yeah, I think it was just a victim to coming out during a time where all these other awardsy titles were coming out. It was just very stacked. Like that last month of 2016, that December, January timeframe, it's like you had all these awardsy films like La La Land and Manchester by the Sea, and then you had Rogue One obviously came out around that time, and a bunch of other films and everything. This just got lost in the sauce. But it's so good. It's my favorite thing that J.A. Bayona has directed. I love the way it comments on loneliness and grief and finding yourself and self-discovery. I really adore it. And for a film that's much smaller than all these VFX heavy blockbusters, the visuals really complement the story. And I think it's such a beautiful film. And it's a really hard one to watch too. It's really devastating. And you know, in 2016, there were a lot of really great child performances. I don't have the cast list on top of me right now, but the main actor in this movie was unbelievable. And I don't think I've seen him in anything outside of this. I think this is the only thing that I've seen him in. And he was...
Pan?
Pan? Oh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Pan. Oh, my God. Oh, that's a film right there if I've ever seen one. But
Yep.
this is a great film. I love it. Veronica, have you seen A Monster Calls?
I have, yeah, not in a while. But yeah, definitely agree with what everyone's saying here. I definitely remember it being a, really bit of a tough watch. Like it's a very emotional. But yeah, I'm hoping that it sort of resurfaces as like I think it's a very, solid sort of family movie. Like, to one of those movies you kind of just have to see as a kid and be a little bit devastated by, but it helps you sort of, grow, learn how to cope with things like loss and grief and everything. Yeah, and hopefully, J.A. Bayona, like he's I think well known and well liked director. Hopefully, like anytime he has a new movie coming out and people sort of revisit his filmography. I know my favorite of his is The Orphanage. That's one of my favorite horror movies ever. So yeah, I'm hoping that it'll sort of get a little bit more traction because yeah, I do think that this one sort of got a little bit lost in the shuffle. But it's definitely a great movie.
Yeah,
He's the single reason I wanted to watch Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, that's exactly it for me too. And I will say that this movie has such a this is going to sound so basic and everything, but this very much had like a Spielberg vibe to it with the fantastical elements and the
Don't
lonely
talk
child
about my king like that. Basic.
No, because you know how people are like, oh, this feels like something Spielberg would make,
Yeah.
or something that
Anything
Scorsese
with kids
would make.
and
It's
fantasy,
like,
yeah.
but
Because he's
sort
so
of Spielbergian.
influential.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you could see like the influences here, and maybe J.A. Bayona wasn't basing anything on that, but like you could just see that like this is something that Spielberg absolutely would have done.
For sure.
Oh God, that's a great film. I need to rewatch that for sure. Veronica, you have the next pick.
All right, so yeah, I have my Oscar nom and my wild card left. I will save the wild card for whatever I feel like at the end. So for my Oscar nominee, I'm going to go with something that was not very Oscar nominated, but it still counts. I'm going to pick the Coen Brothers' Hail Caesar, which I believe only got like a production design nomination. But it's up there for one of my favorite movies of the year. I've in the last 2 years or so, I've done a Coen Brothers rewatch. Talked about it before. If I had to like just pick one filmography as my favorite, it's the Coen Brothers. I just absolutely love their sense of tone and the different genres that they play in. So yeah, Hail Caesar is like an old Hollywood sort of throwback. I remember seeing it when I came out. This is sort of similar to a lot of movies. I saw them when they came out. Thought that it was good. I was like, okay, yeah, a Coen Brothers movie. It's it's really solid, great. But doing my rewatch, I think I watched it a few months ago. I was like, it is mid tier Coen Brothers, but only because everything else is so great. But it's just so like rightfully the production design is incredible. The costumes and everything, like all the tech stuff is just absolutely there, and you just have some awesome performances from George Clooney, from Josh Brolin is sort of like, he kind of gets a little bit more to do in like No Country for Old Men and everything, but I sort of almost like this role even better. Like he's just the sort of like anchor around all of these like wacky characters, and everything just sort of like works out in like these unexpected ways. Like I think I said in my like Letterboxd review, I was like, it's almost like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where like all of these random mishaps are happening, and like yet somehow they all like tie in or they work out or something like that. So I think it's just a really well written movie. I think that it's visually gorgeous, and just really, really funny. I think Channing Tatum, oh my God, his music number in this is incredible. We had all seen him in Magic Mike, but I don't know if we had really seen him do like this sort of dancing and showmanship and stuff. So that was really cool.
Why wasn't this in Roofman? Why didn't he break out into song in Roofman? Like,
He should break out in song in everything that he does, regardless if it's relevant or not. Just do it. Yeah, so this is definitely up there for me, and that is my pick for Oscar nom.
Cool. Yeah, this is definitely a mid-tier Coen Brothers pick for me as well. But the things that are really good in this movie are really good. I think Josh Brolin is so funny in this, and he's not really an actor that has showcased his comedy chops very often. But when he does, I think he's really, really great. I'm not a huge fan. Well, I like this movie, but I think he's incredible in Inherent Vice, and he is maybe the scene stealer of that movie because he's just so absurd in that movie, and it works so well. Everything with him and the bananas, it's absurd. It's ridiculous, but he is really, really funny in this, and I haven't seen this since it came out, but there's one moment from the movie that I remember. He's like talking to Tilda Swinton's character, and he has a whole bunch of like pamphlets. And she's like, "Oh, I need you to like tell me about the situation." He's like, "Yes, yes, right away." Then he just runs away like a buffoon, and it's so funny. It's so good, and I like.
So
Clooney
with Tilda
in this
Swinton
too.
playing the twins, like there are so many good bits with that.
And Frances McDormand with the scarf being caught into the thing.
It's funny. It's goofy. I haven't seen it in many years. I think it would do for a rewatch because it is pretty politically charged, if I remember correctly.
It is, yeah. There's a lot about communism and religion and the way that Hollywood sort of tries to influence. Yeah, it's very good about that stuff too.
Yeah, I think I really need to rewatch it. It introduced us to Alden Ehrenreich, who
Yes.
I am a big fan of. I spoke about it in my top 10 films of the year video, but I don't know why. I think he's just like one of those man crush sort of actors, but I think he does great work in whatever he's in. His tiny bit he did in Oppenheimer and then Weapons and say what you want, but I think he was good as Han Solo. And
I agree with that take. I did like him as Han Solo. The movie surrounding him wasn't the best, but he was far and away not one of the issues with that movie.
yeah,
Definitely.
but yeah, Hail Caesar it's fun.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
one it's one that I need to revisit for sure. Okay, so now I'm giving my last two picks. I have box office and wild card next.
It's funny how that ended up. Well, no, I guess never mind. I'll shut up.
Box office is an interesting one because there's a lot of films to choose from, but there's not a lot of great
Quality.
films to choose from.
Yeah.
So, okay. I don't like where this franchise has gone, but I do like this movie. I've liked it since it came out. For box office, I'm going to go with Captain America Civil War. I think that when it came out, like, I was still such I was still like a huge fan of the MCU at this point. But was also still relatively early in the MCU. They were only just, I think, maybe like 7 years into the MCU, which doesn't seem like, that young, but
Still
there
felt
was
fresh.
yeah, they were still very fresh. There wasn't as much of a fatigue at this time as there is now, certainly, but I remember this being such a huge event, the whole Team Cap versus Team Iron Man, and then, Spider-Man comes in and Black Panther comes in. This was, a really big deal for the superhero films at this time, and I've always really liked what the Russo brothers have brought to the MCU. I admittedly don't think Doomsday is going to be good, but I am trying to hold out hope. I'm trying to be optimistic and everything about it, but it's kind of hard to be optimistic. But then also when you look at what is labeled as the upper tier in the MCU, all the films that they've put out in the MCU are regarded among the best in that entire franchise and everything. So with Civil War, I really do enjoy it. It's not one that I've gone back to a lot. I've seen it a few times and everything, and I've always been a fan of it, certainly. But, when it comes to the box office picks, there's not much to choose from. And when I saw this on the list, I'm like, yeah, I'll go with this one because I do really enjoy the movie. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely, this was around the time when I was kind of like not super into Marvel. I would kind of just see the big releases, but this was around the time where I was like, okay, I should probably like, do my homework and keep up with everything because these are like, they were just so much of the like film conversation. And yeah, this is a good example of one of those, big team up, like everybody is in it kind of movies, where it does a good job of holding the center and keeping that like central conflict of Cap and Iron Man and stuff in the forefront. And then, there's sort of all the stuff happening around it. I think that Marvel in the last few years has been more about the stuff happening around it. And that's where they kind of go wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely an example from a better time of Marvel storytelling.
Agreed.
I have nothing nice to say.
So we could just move on to my wild card. Wild card, there's a lot to choose from here.
Yeah.
There's so many to choose from, and I don't know if any of these films are going to be drafted. So it's like, do I go with a particular film that I really want drafted, or do I
There's
just go
still
with
so many good ones that are
Like,
going to be
I-
left
I
on the
don't
table.
even know-
Mine was like all foreign stuff.
like I don't even know where to begin with this, quite frankly. I'm in between 3 films, and I really don't know what to pick. And the thing is, 2 of these films could have qualified for Oscar nom, and I probably should have found a way of nominating them there, but all right. It would be wrong for me to not draft this film because this film is very personal to me. So for my wild card, I'm going to go with Saint Street. Saint Street is my favorite film that came out in 2016. Coming of age is my favorite genre, as I've said many times on this short-lived podcast so far. And I love musicals. I love movies about music, even though I can't play an instrument for my life. I can't sing for my life, but for some reason I really gravitate towards movies about musicians. And more so these kinds of movies, not like the music biopics and everything. So, and I love John Carney. I think John Carney is a really exciting voice that doesn't have the fanfare that other filmmakers have, but he's a guy that has really made stories that have gravitated towards me. And he's a guy that loves to tell stories about discovering your true roots and where you belong. And the character in this movie, the main character in this, he is going through a really rough patch by going to a different school. His parents are going through a divorce. He has basically no friends. He gets bullied nonstop. He is treated unfairly. But then he just sees this beautiful girl and he's like, okay, now I have to start a band. And that's a cool premise. That's a sick premise. And the music here is really catchy. Nick brought up before that what makes a really good musical or movie about music are the songs. And I think all the songs here are wonderful. Drive It Like You Stole It, the fact that it was not nominated for an Oscar is ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Every other song that's incorporated here, but then also the actual music that's added here, like you have Duran Duran and all these other bands that are incorporated, and I just think that the story is so lovely and charming and whimsical. And yeah, you may be like, oh, the ending is a little far-fetched, but it's like that's what being young is. Like, being young, you make silly decisions. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's supposed to be very silly. And yeah, this film means the absolute world to me. It came out at a point where I was not at a very high place in my life, and this movie kind of reinvigorated me in ways that I never thought I would find again. And I'm so grateful that this film exists, and I just think that it's really sad that this film, even though it does have a following, it still feels super underrated, and people don't really talk about it. And again, John Carney is one of those filmmakers that I always get excited to see a film from him, and I like everything that he's put out so far. He's doing a film later this year with Paul Rudd, which I'm really excited to see. So yeah, Saint Street would be my wild card pick. Do you guys have anything to add about Saint Street?
Not particularly. I'm familiar with some of the music, and I at some point I had thought I saw it because I knew the songs and stuff, but I took another look at it and I was like, oh no, I actually haven't seen this. So yeah, I definitely have to catch up on this one. I'm sure that I would love it.
Yeah, I've seen it once and I thought it was pretty solid, and I haven't really thought about it since. Unfortunately, it's not that it was bad, but I think I remember like Begin Again more, or
That's fair.
Flora. What is it? Flora and I.
Flora and
Lauren
Son.
Sun.
Flora and Son. I thought that one was pretty solid. So, yeah, he makes good work. He makes good work, and I'll always watch whatever he puts out.
Totally.
Nice.
Veronica, it's time for your final
Right.
pick. What are you
Yep.
going to do with the wild card?
All right. Wild
How
card.
wild are you going to get?
How wild am I getting? Well, I think I think same thing that you said. I'm sort of got three that I'm toggling between, but it sort of just comes down to one I've watched more recently, and it's so it's sort of sticking in my brain a little bit more. So I think I'm going to go with on brand for me as we're talking about the award season. Park Chan Wook's The Handmaiden.
Nice.
Yes.
Did I steal yours, Nick? Sorry.
You didn't steal it, but I'm just glad we get to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I caught up with this like fairly recently, I think a few months ago, as I was, preparing for a new movie from Park Chan-wook. And yeah, it was, I mean, I had heard everything about it, that it was a masterpiece, and it absolutely was, and more, and I think it was, obviously I'm accustomed to Park Chan-wook being a super innovative director, playing a lot with edits and the camera and everything. And so that was all there. But I think I was like sort of most excited by the script here, and just it's for such something that, looks sort of so prestigious and regal. Like it's a very like twisty, fun sort of, wild script. And performances are fantastic. I think Kim Min Hee I would shout out as like the standout here. And so it's just it gets violent. It's sexual. It's just everything that like you could want. It's just kind of a wild ride that just really has a lot to say about society at that time, and it's just a really cool. It's like when you think of a movie, it's just like God. You've got everything there that you could possibly want. Do you guys feel the same?
Yeah, it's great.
Very, very erotic film.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's such a good film, and it's yeah. I mean, I'll never understand why the Academy has this vendetta against Park Chan Wook,
So crazy.
but like, what does he have to do to get nominated for an Oscar?
I don't know. I mean, the sheer fact that this doesn't even have a Blu-ray in North America is sickening. It was one of the top films on my list that I wanted to get when I got a region-free Blu-ray player, because it's the only way to watch it. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it's incredible stuff. Like it's right around the peak of when I was finding out who he was and what films he made, and it was an incredible watch.
Absolutely. And now, Nick, you get to end the draft by telling us what you're going to put as the Oscar nom. Usually, when it comes to these drafts, everyone saves wild card for last, but you're like, I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want, and I'm going to say my wild card before the draft ends.
Yeah, I had confidence that nobody would pick this. I have several things listed for Oscar noms. I guess I can list them since we're pretty much done, but I had The Salesman from Asghar Farhadi. I had The Lobster from Yorgos, Jackie, and Captain Fantastic.
Captain Fantastic is
But
amazing.
out of all the films I have listed here, one rose to the top. It's one that I've watched the most since it came out. Hell or High Water.
That was one of my three that I was considering.
It's it's unfortunate the road that Taylor Sheridan seems to be going down because he made some really good stuff over the past decade, and especially what he's trying to say in this movie, the desperation of people against capitalistic monsters, people turning to violence to do what needs to be done. I think that I think that this is like the first thing I saw Chris Pine in where I was like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Like he can act.
He's not just Captain Kirk.
No, he's not just Captain Kirk. And then Ben Foster is a weirdo. Like he just gets lost in the roles he plays, so it was kind of what I expected from him. But then you got Jeff Bridges that is still playing Rooster Cogburn all these years later, and then Gil Birmingham. I have always been a big fan of westerns, so I do love when they bring it into a more contemporary setting, and I think the cinematography and the vistas are so beautiful, and even some of the bit of action that we do get is really well done. The camera work when they're driving and the camera zooms in right up into the car when they're driving and having conversations is just it's great work. And I'm just a fan of David Mackenzie altogether. I've been a fan since Startup, which came out in like 2013, starring my boy, Jack O'Connell. And also Outlaw King, I think, was really good, also with Chris Pine. So he just has this knack of, I don't know, making villainous people humanized, I guess. Like you understand why these guys are doing what they're doing
Yeah.
because they're really going against the real bad guys. But yeah, it for me it's gotten better with time, and I don't know what it is. Sometimes there's just that movie that you just feel excited when you think about it, and it's one of those. It just has that vibe to it. So, yeah, that's my Oscar nom.
Great pick. Yeah, I definitely I loved it when it came out, and I've rewatched it a couple times, but not in a while. So don't quite remember all the details, but yeah, I remember loving the trio of performances, and not too much on the Chris Pine slander because obviously you guys weren't there for Just My Luck with Lindsay Lohan and for
No,
the second Princess
unfortunately.
Diary, the second Princess Diaries movie. So I knew he could act from way back when, but yeah, Chris Pine, he's awesome as a like leading man actor who like does some really really unconventional projects and stuff. So yeah, I remember this being like such a solid crime drama, a lot about masculinity and capitalism and the desperation that people are pushed to. So yeah, this is definitely I wanted to rewatch it before this. It wasn't streaming anywhere, so I just bought the Blu-ray because I was like, I know I'm gonna wanna have this with me for years to come. So yeah, great pick.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film. I haven't seen it since it came out, and I've been wanting to revisit it for so long. And I haven't loved the trajectory of David Mackenzie's work post this. I did like Outlaw King. He made a film. I think it came out last year, but I saw it in 2024 called Relay
Yeah,
with
Relay.
Riz Ahmed, which I wasn't a big fan of. I was quite underwhelmed with it.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, it was all right.
But
He was
this
the reason
film,
I would want to check it out.
right, that's the main reason why I checked that out in the first place because I love this one so much. But yeah, it's great, and I agree. Like Taylor Sheridan has really established himself in the television world, which is great. But I would love for him to come back and give us another great film because also the 1-2 punch with Sicario and this. I mean, it's really, and then he did Wind River after this, which I think is
Yeah.
very underrated and
Yeah.
super good. And he directed that, and yeah, it's time for Taylor Sheridan to come back. Put a pause on the Yellowstone and write another script for a film.
Yeah, for me, it's not even that he's going down the TV route. It's that other thing. He's going down a different route.
Right. Exactly. Well, those are our teams. We finished drafting. So let's read back our teams. So Nick, why don't you go ahead and read back your team first?
What? I thought you were keeping track.
I do, but you don't have the
Oh, it's
doc.
in the.
Huh?
The doc
Oh, is it?
that I sent you.
Is it in here? Is
I
it
can read
updated?
yours off if you want.
It's at the bottom.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Oh, it
you got
updated. Technology. I'm just catching up.
Remarkable.
You old
It's just
man.
crazy stuff. Okay, so my first pick for comedy was The Nice Guys. And then we moved on to drama, which was La La Land. Box office was Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Action horror was The Vivitch. Wild card was A Monster Calls. And Oscar nom was Hell or High Water. I'm very, very happy with this list. The only thing that could have made it better was getting Manchester by the Sea, but this is about as good as I could have hoped.
Yep. And then my roster is for drama, I have Moonlight. For action horror, I have Hush. The Edge of 17 for comedy. Moana for box office. Hail Caesar for Oscar nom. And The Handmaiden for a wild card. And yeah, same. There are a lot of movies I could have plugged in here. I definitely have a lot of, discards, but I'm happy with everything that I got.
And then for my team, for Oscar nom, I put Arrival. For drama, Manchester by the Sea. For comedy, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stoppin'. For action horror, 10 Cloverfield Lane. For box office, Captain America Civil War. And for wild card, Saint Street. So I'm pretty happy with my team. Echoing your sentiments, there were definitely some films that I would have liked to put on. Do you guys have any honorable mentions? To start out for me, I'm surprised that none of us drafted Silence. I'm a little surprised by that one.
I watched that for the first time for this draft, and I didn't love it. It was good, not great for
It's
me.
gonna grow on you. It's one that
Possibly, yeah.
that will grow for sure. I was gonna put that in the wild card, but I'm like, it would have felt out of character for me to put Saint Street. Another one, Veronica. I think we're bad New Jersey people for not mentioning Patterson.
Yes, I had that on my list.
I'm shocked.
That would have probably been another wild card. And then Nick, I know that you're a fan of this director. Your Name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was definitely on my list. I couldn't figure out how to really throw it in there.
That's the thing. It could have been Oscar nom. It could have been drama. It could have been wild card. Like it could have made its way in some capacity. And then
but
another one, 20th Century Women. That's the last honorable mention for me. I love Mike Mills, and I'm so excited that I think he has a new movie coming out soon, or he's working on one right now. So I'm looking forward to that. What about you guys? Do you have any honorable mentions?
That was 20th Century Women was one of my 3 at the end there. That was definitely the highest for me. Let's
good.
see. I'm Brian. I know you're a Linklater fan. I was thinking of Everybody Wants Some.
That's a good
That was
film.
Definitely,
It was
it was
in
probably
my
my
comedy.
second choice for comedy. Yeah.
I thought Nick was gonna pick that for comedy. To
Yeah.
be
It
honest.
was. It's up there, but it's
Or
not
for
the
wild
Nice
card.
Guys.
I thought he was gonna pick
Yeah.
it in one of those two.
I like The Lobster. It's not my favorite Yorgos, but I do like it. It could have shown up somewhere. I like Fences. I like Jackie. I'm going to shout out Pee-wee's Big Holiday, which is like a little known sequel to, the Pee-wee movies. R.I.P. to Mr. Pee-wee himself. But I think it's the best one since the first original Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's like a favorite of my family. It was like a straight to Netflix movie that I don't think got a lot of attention, but I think it's really fun. If you like, the sensibility of Pee-wee and everything, it's a good one. And then I'll shout out another Chris Pine movie. There was the third Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond was out this year.
Yeah.
I love that series. I think this is maybe, I definitely like the first one the most, but Star Trek Beyond is a really solid entry. So that was on my list. I was considering 13th, the documentary, somewhere in either Oscar or Wild Card. I remember seeing that when it came out and like being totally, moved by it and like really opened my eyes in a lot of ways, and something that I sort of like reference a lot still. So I think that's top. Just Zootopia, Bad Moms is a comedy that I kind of like. Yeah, my sister and I like that one. Train to Busan, had that on the list as well. Yeah, I think it was a good year. There were a lot of options.
Yeah, I have many. One of the three films I had listed for comedy was Hunt for the Wilder People. Back when old Taika was still doing some good work. I had The Wailing. I think The Wailing.
The Wailing
is an incredible horror, crime, procedural, freaky shit movie. There were some films from some of my favorite international filmmakers that came out. Ken Loach put out Daniel Blake. Christian Mungiu put out Graduation. What else do we have here? I have to go like deeper into the list. Midnight Special. God, I remember loving that movie when it came out.
and he had another movie that year too with Lovin'.
Yeah, he had Loving the same year. Midnight Special was just like a total love letter to like E.T. and films like that. Yeah, like I mentioned, The Salesman by Asghar Farhadi. That was it doesn't feel like a movie that'll leave you breathless, but it definitely left me breathless watching that. And then Hirokazu Koreeda put out After the Storm, another great international filmmaker. Love that guy. And then Kiyoshi Kurosawa, very important Japanese horror filmmaker, came out with a movie called Creepy. And then we can't not mention Bo Burnham's Make Happy.
I was gonna say that for last. I was gonna say that.
Cannot forget it. And then a joke answer, one that gets brought up on the old podcast a lot, Anthropoid, which was it's probably not even that good. It was just a decent World War II film. And then one more, Mike Birbiglia came out with Don't Think Twice.
I had that on my list, yeah.
Yeah, a pretty solid like improv comedy film, and a lot of decent actors in it. Love Gillian Jacobs though. She's fantastic, like total film crush. And TV, I love. I love the show.
Love that show. It's a great show.
There's a lot of stuff. Got a lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff. And then quickly two more. I like Swiss Army Man. That was obviously the Daniels debut and everything. And Nocturnal Animals. And Tom Ford has a movie coming out this year, and I'm very excited for him to come back into the stratosphere. Very excited for that. There's so many films. We could spend hours and hours and hours talking about 2016 films, but we have to come to an end.
Yes, that concludes the draft. You can vote on, the polls are going to be on Twitter and Instagram. Is that right, Brian?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool.
And with that, that is a wrap on today's episode of Some Like It Real. Thank you all for joining us for our first movie draft. If you're interested in following along our journey, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Brian Suffield.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Vero Albarella and on Letterboxd at Alba_real_A.
And thank you to Nick for joining us today.
Yes,
Nick,
thank you.
Where could the listeners find you?
Well, thank you for having me. You can find me on Instagram at BickNeisel, BickNeisel. You can find me on Letterboxd at FilmiesNick. And I'm starting to post to my old YouTube channel, FilmiesNick. So you can find me over there.
Go give Nick a follow. Links will be in the description. And you can follow the show on all socials at Some Like It Real, as well as on YouTube at Some Like It Real. Be sure to subscribe and share it around and tune in every Monday for a new episode of Some Like It Real on podcast platforms.
We'll see you next time.